and welcome to the channel. I hope you're all well and enjoying your fishing. Now today we're going to tie a dry fly, which is the Red Baron in spent style. Now in the vise I have a size 14 dry fly hook, and I'm going to be tying with 12/0 black thread. I'm going to start that just about a mil behind the eye, because we have quite a lot of materials to tie at the front of the fly. Now this particular fly is well known for its two long tails. Now you can use microfibets or paintbrush bristles, whatever you like. I'm going to use just 2 fibers of coq de lion. I'll tear those off and tie them in. It's a little bit too long, so I'll pull them back. And wind down to the rear of the hook shank. And I'm going to put one tie underneath, which will lift and separate the 2 fibers. And I'll trim off the excess. Right, hopefully you can see how they have lifted and separated. For the body, I'm going to use a colour which is wine or Bordeaux or whatever, claret. Now the Latin name of this fly is Ecdionorus venosus. Now venosus means veins. Veins carry blood, and I haven't seen really bright red blood, so I'm going for this wine coloured hare's ear. I'm sure we all have a little bit of wine in our blood, so for me this seems more appropriate than some of the bright red colours you may have seen. So I'm just going to wind that on and keep it tight as we go up the body. I want to make it just a little bit thicker as we get closer to the thorax. Put on just a little bit more. Pull back these fibers, tidy up. Now I am going to trim up some of these longer hare's ear fibers. Take your time, try not to clip the tying thread. Right, now to separate the wings for the spent fashion, I'm going to use some black foam. This is standard black foam. You can probably buy in sheets at any thrift store. And I've cut off a strip about 2 mil across, and I'm just going to trim that up to make it easier to tie in. And we'll tie that in at the thorax and on top. Bind down the rest of the foam. For the wing, I'm going to use 3 CDC feathers, and we're going to tie those in facing backwards. Like so. Lift up the stems and trim them up. Now for the thorax, I'm going to use a little bit of the wine coloured hare's ear and a little bit of natural hare's ear. Mix them together to create something just a little bit darker for the thorax area. Dab that on. Like so. Take off the excess. Pull back the fibres. Right, now I'm going to pull these feathers forward, these 3 CDC feathers, and pull back the longer fibres. Like so, and tie them down. And trim up the excess and tidy up. Right, now to separate the wing, try and separate it in half if you can, as close as you can to it being in half. And pull over the foam. I'm actually happy that's really in half. I'll put a couple more fibres on the other side. Yeah, it's a bit better, I think. And trim off the foam. Now I'm just going to trim up the foam a little bit neater. Like so. Bind it down. And I'm going to use a half hitch tool to tie off the fly. And trim up the thread. Bit of loose foam there. Right, now this particular fly is well known for the wings pointing backwards. So don't worry if you think that they are pointing backwards. Just going to trim them up just a little, try and get them as even as possible. Now, if you have any fibres going below, don't worry about that because they will just soften out onto the water when this fly lands. Just lift the tail up again. Looks like the dubbing has closed the tail up. There. That's really the fly finished. It's a very simple tie, but very effective at the end of the day when you have seen these flies on the wing. They're also known as the false March brown or the late March brown, mainly because they are hatching from April onwards, where obviously the March brown is earlier. So there you go, a simple tying of a spent red baron. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for viewing. Bye.